Welcome to another episode of the Black Guy Who Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host, Karen. And we are live on a Wednesday, wrapping up the week. The official weapon of the show is
phone chair.
And the unofficial sport,
bullet ball.
And bullet ball extreme.
I had to say that with confidence. My mind had to be like, wait a minute, Ken. You broke the streak yesterday.
Getting a little bit of a later start tonight because I had to finish watching Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon.
Okay.
And I loved it. I thought it was great. I don't know what the fuck. You can't listen to social media about anything because it's such a negative place. As soon as they saw the trailer, they were like, these people are not sexy as the Caucasian people that we love.
They was got mad, and then after that, reviews came out was like, this is really good. Like a lot of positive reviews came out. Like,
yeah, I think what people well, maybe they never understood, or I think it does a disservice to that movie that the only thing people remember is how hot the Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt are.
Right.
Because essentially you're saying that the concept didn't stick with you, the plot didn't stick with you, the scenes didn't really stick with you. Mm-hmm. What you remember is like they really did have some infidelity in real life and that they were smoking hot white people. And somehow that became the premise of the movie. It's like, well, if it's not two smoking hot white people, how the fuck, or then the actors, they would be like, well, what they should have did is cast, fan cast, and it would just be people they want to fuck,
right.
Like, oh, they should have put Trevon, I can't even remember his name is. Trevante Rhodes or somebody, like they should have put this guy, they should have put Aldous Hodge. And it's not that those people can't do what this show was about, but this show is in this movie. And the concept is not really about the action and the fucking. It's really about a marriage. And then the action is all allegories for the marriage. It's what's it like when, you want to get to the step, like where you want to have kids? What's it like when you start to fight? What is it like when you get a separation? What is it like to, to make up? What is it like to, to even get together in the first place? Like that. And then the action all takes place in ways that reflect the conflicts they go through, couples therapy and stuff. And I loved it because it lived in the moments more than those other shows, than the movie. The movie only has 2 hours.
Right.
It can't live in those allegories. And while I thought the movie was cute, I never thought it never stuck with me. I've never rewatched that movie.
Me either.
Like I just thought it was like, oh, okay, that was cute. You know what I mean? But this series was, to me, just as an idea of two people trying to be together who are obviously fucking killers and spies and all it entails. And then the guest cast. I can't even go on about it. It's just, that's why we're late. Because I honestly, I didn't even want to binge this show, but I just kept being like, I'll watch one more episode. Well, shit, I got 2 more to go. I might as well. And next thing you know, I was like, fuck, it's only 10 minutes left in the last episode. I guess we can start the show after this. So I just went ahead and watched it, and I loved it.
I'm glad you. Oh, so what are we in our whatchamacallit segment?
Banter.
Yeah.
I was, that was kind of. I guess that was some banter. I didn't play any music and shit. Hold on.
Psycho.
Music.
Love me some horns. All right, Karen.
Well,
what's going on with you over there, Karen? How you doing today?
I'm good. So while you was doing that, I was watching, was it Vinland Saga? I keep telling the name of
That's the name of it.
Shit, I called it the right thing. I be wanting to call it Valhalla, but I don't think, I was like, Karen, that's not the name. But it's called Vinland Saga. It's an anime. And Roger already watched it. And he was telling me, I'm still in season 1, but he was telling me that season 2, the art style is the same people that did Attack on Titan.
It's the same studio, Mappa.
Oh, okay, it's the same studio that did Attack on Titan. And I'm not gonna lie, we finished that series recently because it took forever for them to actually make it dubbed, because we like dubbed. And I'm not even gonna lie, it is literally one of the best animes I've ever watched. I'm not even gonna lie.
Attack on Titan?
Attack on Titan, yes. From literally from start to finish. And one thing about that series, it rewards you for paying attention, and it rewards you at the end, and and it's one of those things where even after you think it ends, it continues on to kind of show you the future of some of the things Aaron was saying that he was seeing and stuff like that. Like, it filled in a lot of, like, when it ended, I was like, yes, it's almost like they left no stone unturned, and they ate up all the crumbs. It's like, when this ends, you're gonna know there's nothing else to do here. Like literally, this is the quote unquote end of this story. If they was to do something else, it would be a serious time skip into like a future separate from all these people and their reality and all this type of stuff. And I really appreciate that with this. You know, not all animes, but I really do appreciate a start, a middle, and a finish. I understand as consumers, sometimes we get selfish where we like, again, stretch it. But sometimes people have an idea and they were like, this is my thoughts, this is the story, and that's it. You get nothing else. I like completed stories like that. And those stories to me are some of the stories that actually have a go against time, you know, like you go, oh, that was a great story from start to finish, and the way it ends and the consequences and shit like that, and just the writing, it was outstanding. So I'm watching Vinland Saga, and I'm really enjoying it. I haven't got to season 2 yet, but I'm really enjoying it a lot. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So while you was watching that, I was watching this.
Okay. Yeah, I love that series, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that on the Nerd Off as well.
Mm-hmm.
But coming up this Friday, for all the premium people, Friday we're doing the Nerd Off. But yeah, it was I like that. I love that series as well. And I like that about anime is that they start a lot of times with the ending. Now, these days, because it's getting so popular and making so much money, it's starting to change. And there's a lot of filler. There's a lot of like movies. There's a lot more exploitation of the IP now. And so sometimes they might like the old days of just a 28 episode, we told the whole story, we have nothing else to say. Those days seem to be over. Even with Attack on Titan, the way they kept kind of like stretching it, and then it was like, oh, we're coming back with a special, and then there's going to be 4 seasons. It's going to be another season coming up. Like, even they kind of, you know, I mean, because you're making so much money and it's so popular, you don't know which one's going to be popular.
Correct.
I get it, but yeah, I love that series as well.
Yeah, and I do agree. Like there are some that like, this is the song that never ends. I got my hand full, and I'm like, I'm just here for it, but I know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love Naruto, but Naruto is forever. I know it eventually ends. You go into Boruto, but Naruto is a lot of episodes, and then you have sat down and we literally been through it all. Like Bleach, you know, I need to catch up on Bleach. I'm who knows how many seasons I'm behind on Bleach, and like some of the other ones. And same thing with Dragon Ball Z. It's some of them, you know what you're getting into. You know, I haven't started One Piece because it's like 4,000 episodes. I was like, well, I don't know if I want to take that journey.
Yeah, and that one never seems like they never plan to end that either. All right, let's get into some other news. All right. News. Kelly Rowland says Jay-Z made other artists feel seen during his Grammy speech.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see a lot of people having some of the feelings that he was having, because the thing is, these people are at work, and even though it's an award ceremony and all this shit, they still on the clock. They're still at work. So they have to keep the smiles on. They have to, you know, perform and all that shit. They got cameras and things like that in front of them. So they're still, quote unquote, on the clock. But, you know, not trying funny, Jay-Z is at a place of privilege where he's like, oh, I've been through that. I just don't give a fuck no more. So this is how I feel, and what are the consequences? Like I have no. What you gonna end my career, bitch? Like, what you gonna do? Not give me no awards? Like, I actually don't care, you know. So I could see people being like, oh, thank God somebody said, like, I can't do it because I don't want to end my career. But I'm glad that somebody actually said some things that a lot of people have been feeling, particularly marginalized people, who have been overlooked, who have been ignored. You know, even with this particular ceremony, a lot of the Black and Brown and other awards was given off camera. You know, so people didn't even get to see the people that some of the people that they was listening that they would have loved to see give a speech. They gave a speech to a room of people, but nobody saw it unless you was in the room. You know, so it's one of those things where you go, okay, you know, you keep saying this, but you know, not trying to be funny, the categories there aren't Black and Brown and other. I don't never see y'all listen to all these white artists and all these white straight men listing them and be like, oh, we'll holler at them later. Y'all don't do
I mean,
that.
they might do that, but I mean, like, cause it's not like the Black categories are the only ones that don't get aired.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of categories that traditionally white people win, and or you know, people that aren't Black win, but they still don't air them because they're not sexy or whatever.
Right.
But it says something that, you know, it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and hip hop awards don't even really get shown on that stage. But yeah, I mean, Kelly Rowland's right. You know, this is one of the reasons I thought I wasn't as hard on Jay-Z's speech, because it's a very real feeling that people have. And I think when you're 50, 60 years old and you're a Black person and you made all the money and you got all the fame and you got all the accolades, people are like, well, why are you even affected by this? It's like, because I'm fucking human. Right. What do you think my art comes from? Right. Why am I affected by the regret of selling drugs to my own people? Why shouldn't I just be like, well, I'm rich. I figured it out. Fuck it. Like, you know, emotions is part of it, and honesty is part of emotions, and maybe not everything is going to be a good look for people. Right. But it's the truth for you. And I was not surprised that other people were applauding Jay-Z. The artists are saying, yep, I feel seen. This is exactly, you know, the thing I think about a lot. And yeah, I think it's dope of Kelly Rowland. She said, I couldn't be more proud of him, and I'm just really happy for a lot of things that he said. I think he made a lot of artists feel very seen and very heard in those minutes that he took on stage. So
and I appreciate that. And you know, it's one of those things where these awards mean something, regardless if they mean something to you. They actually mean something. You know, this is shit that people, you know, write off in people's catalog and how quote unquote good or great, whatever that they are. You know, people actually, this shit matters, you know, to people. And, you know, people, you know, I understand even with some of the other awards, people go, well, who cares? Well, if I worked in this industry, bitch, I would care.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's also like a thing to like, but you're cool, and cool means kind of not caring. And I think a lot of people have taken on that ethos. Is like, cool people don't care. And it's like, it's not cool to care too much, especially about, you know, your ego or personal things or what someone thinks about you. And it's like, well, that's one, a lot of those people are in denial, but then two, like, that's human, you know?
Yes, it is.
And it's relatable, which is what music and art is about. Henry Cavill says he doesn't understand sex scenes and thinks they're overused. Henry Cavill has shared his dislike of sex scenes in film and television and questioned the necessity, arguing that it might sometimes be better to let viewers use their human imagination. During an interview on Josh Horowitz's Happy, Sad, Confused podcast with his Argyle director Matthew Vaughn, Cavill admitted that he's not a fan of filming intimate scenes and doesn't understand why they show up so often, even though he acknowledges there are some circumstances where they can add value to the storytelling. I posted this article on my Facebook, and it started like a little debate between people in my comments. And the main thing I could tell is that most people didn't read the comments. And because read the article. Mm-hmm. And because I haven't participated in these conversations before online or even on the show, I was still trying to formulate my thoughts about it and just seeing what people had to say. But it sounds like there's already like two distinct camps of like, we need to stop being prude. Sex scenes are fine. What the fuck is the problem? It's just like any other scene, you know. And then there's we need to stop having sex scenes and all together. There's no need for sex scenes in movies. It doesn't further the plot at all. It's exploitative of the artist and all this stuff. And I think if they read his comments, he didn't say either one of those things. Mm-mm. He's like, if it can add value, cool. But if it's just something where I feel like it's just in the scene, it's not adding anything to the, it's not really adding much to the plot or whatever, or something that could be done in a different way. And he feels like it could be a cop out.
I agree.
Yeah, he said, I don't understand them. I'm not a fan. There are circumstances where a sex scene actually is beneficial to a movie rather than just the audience. But I think sometimes they're overused these days. It's when you have a sense of where you're going. Is this really necessary, or is it just people with less clothing on? And that's when you start to get more uncomfortable and you're thinking, there's not a performance here. There's not a piece which is going to carry through the rest of the movie. He reiterated that there are occasions where sex scenes can be great, but sometimes they're relied on too heavily as a bit of a cop-out because most of the time the human imagination is going to trump it. So there should be more thought out around what is this going to do? What is this doing for us apart from the idea of, oh, naked person, great. Yeah, I don't think what he's saying here is controversial, really. I think it's controversial in the context of you've been fighting on the internet and people have been saying basically, we don't ever need sex scenes. And then you've been like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all pilgrims or whatever, you Puritans? Then I understand like how it can get caught up in that. But I think he makes a valid point. And I think obviously sex scenes do add stuff because bad sex tells a story. Good sex tells a story. Sexual chemistry tells a story. Joking during sex, there's a lot of stuff a story can have in a sex scene that can make it like viable, and you're learning something about the characters in the situation. And then there's sometimes where with Game of Thrones, sometimes where you're like, they're having people be naked while they talk about the plot, because more than likely they were like, motherfuckers gonna be bored as shit listening to this guy talk about the succession to the throne. But if you put some people getting finger banged in the back, then they'll at least watch the scene and be like not bored by this guy who's only conveying information that we need the audience to remember for the plot.
Right.
So I mean, like I said, I could see it kind of both ways on this, but I thought what he said was fine.
Yeah, he was being very reasonable. And I do agree. There are times when things need to be left up to the imagination. Like there are times where you can kind of, I've seen it done greatly, where you can start a sex scene, but you don't finish the sex scene. Like you can start like the kissing and intimacy. You can even start with like people unclothed and then just kind of swap the scene. Like we don't actually have to see sometimes the act itself. So from that perspective, I understand. Now, there are some points where the act is important to the storyline, to the plot, moving it along. It's very important. You're trying to tell a story about kind of sex itself or the intimacies and the things around sex. I understand you actually showing, the act itself. I'm not completely against no sex at all whatsoever.
I think
that's stupid.
I think so, let's take it one level deeper. I think one of the things that's happening here is we've swung the pendulum probably a little too far the other way since the Me Too movement. Because, that was a time for people to air their grievances and talk about their experiences. So some people were like, I was never comfortable doing these sex scenes. I just did them because I thought I had to. Or the sex scene wasn't handled well. They didn't have intimacy coordinators that did a good job.
Right.
And if this is something that can be handled badly, then it shouldn't be handled at all, is how people took it. But when someone dies on the set of a movie in an action scene, or someone gets injured, we don't go, that's enough action scenes, Hollywood. Someone got hurt.
Right.
We go, no, that set is dangerous. That person is the stunt coordinator. Someone has to be responsible.
Yes.
Alec Baldwin killed somebody on the set of a movie. We don't say no more guns in movies. We go, that's a dangerous set. We need to investigate that so it never happens again. So I think in our need to feel like we're protecting people, we may have course corrected to a point of like, we need to sanitize sex out of just most things. And being that this last era of movies has been dominated by the blockbuster PG-13-ish movie.
Yes, they have.
Meaning like Marvel heroes are all sexy, but they have no sex. You
Right.
know? The one movie where they did have sex, everybody hates, Eternals. But the point being like, in a world where we're dealing with an epidemic of loneliness, where we literally know statistically, since we've been tracking it, young people are having less sex than they've ever had.
Right.
There is something about the reflection in this media. I don't know if it's chicken or egg, right? I don't know which came first. There's something about the unsexiness of our media that does speak volumes about this moment in time. And I think we'll look back at this and be like, almost like how we had a sexual revolution. It was like a sexual, like we were pulling back on the sex. And it's obvious people still love those raunchy sex scenes and stuff, because look at what they'll pretend to be disgusted or act like it's, but they love like a fucking Euphoria. They love you know, all these HBO shows that they love a Game of Thrones. They love the highest ratings for all these shows I'm naming. And it's because those shows will take it there to that next level and do that nasty thing that people are like, oh my God, I can't believe that. People have been talking about Saltburn for fucking a couple months. I didn't even watch it. I know
that is.
I know, but I know about the scenes in it just because people spoiled it because they want to talk about it so much. So there's it's that thing that kind of betrays us, where clearly, you know, some of the movies this year, Poor Things, like very sexual movies. Oppenheimer, and even in Oppenheimer, I felt like the sex served a purpose. I didn't think it was just being exploitative. And I think what the next level is going to be, the actors are going to have to proactively be in their interviews. Like, I knew I was doing sex scenes when I signed up. I wanted to do these sex scenes.
Yes.
And I liked the way it went, and I like how it turned out. And I like kind of have to get in front of the audience, because when you're talking about social media, where most of this conversation takes place, that is a very antisocial, lonely, angry, sad place.
Yes, it is.
And while there's sex positive in that, if you said, hey, this porn star wants to talk at a library, they'd be like, what's wrong with that? But if you actually said this porn star has a sex scene in a R-rated movie, they're like, well, why the hell would you put sex in a movie? So we are at a crossroads where like those two things don't really add up, but it is the same groups of people.
Yes.
So I do think that there's something about what he's getting at that's a bigger conversation, and it made me think of all that when I was reading this quote.
Yeah, and also there has to be a balance, because even though it's sex, is also used as art. And so if you come in, you be like, no sex scenes, like, okay, I'm me. So you're limiting everything I can do as a creator.
Right.
You're telling me that if I want to do these things and show these things, I can't do it because you've determined that my art and the things that I've decided that I want to put in my art is not worthy to be shown.
Yeah, you have like a P-Valley or something where it's, you know, very sexual. Black people love it. Like, it's, I don't know. It feels a little bit like that old court case where in public, you know, the lawyers are like, hey, nobody watches porn. We want to ban porn. And then the cable company or whoever showed up to the trial and they were like, here are the ratings. Here is how much people are watching it. Now, look, there's a puritanical society. They may be ashamed to come out and say, I'm watching this stuff. But they are watching it. And just because they're silent doesn't mean that it's not happening. And so I think just because people want to avoid conflict or they don't want to have this discussion with other people doesn't necessarily mean that putting sex in a movie automatically makes it bad, or just like the scene needs to be this, that, and the other. I think obviously you want your intimacy coordinators, you know, doing their thing. But like people watch all kinds of rap shit. People upset that shit got canceled.
They were mad.
People sad that Insecure is over.
Right.
All kinds of raunchy sex in there. I think, and the sex does tell you about the characters. It's not just sex for sex sake. So I don't know. I think there's something to this discussion, and we've just never had it on the air here.
Right.
But this is my first time really thinking about it. And I'm like, I mean, I get what he's saying, but and then someone else, Shanna, brought up a good point on my Facebook page. She said a lot of these male actors don't even start talking like this till they get in a relationship. You know, where it's like, hey, I don't want to be having sex scenes anymore. Which is another, you know, kind of argument against the whole, like, it has to have a sex scene, because we know certain people like Denzel, he's decided he's never going to have a character who has an on-screen romance with a white woman. and he never had it. Somehow every director, no matter what they wrote in that movie, figured a way out to, once they cast Denzel, they figured a way out not to do it. And I'm sure that happens with stars in Hollywood all the time. I think there's a reason that the first season of Game of Thrones, you're seeing the woman who plays the Khaleesi's titties and shit, because she wasn't nobody then. And by the end, it's like, I'm not getting naked.
Right.
I have a contract now.
I don't have to.
You got to run it by me. I matter. I got other opportunities. If you ain't got to, like, me just having sex just to have sex doesn't matter, you know? So yeah, it just makes me wonder about it, because, you know, and of course I agree that the imagination is just as vivid, if not more vivid, in actual sex. Like, I'll never forget that people weren't that hard on Game of Thrones until Sansa character was sexually assaulted by Ramsay, and they never showed it.
They didn't show us the scene, and motherfuckers lost their mind. Yeah, y'all do know they didn't show us, right?
The imagination was honestly worse than the scenes they had shown with other characters in the past, because it was the human imagination is powerful. So, and it doesn't always have to be used in that way, but you could just, you know, back in the day, they used to cut to a woman wearing Clint Eastwood's button-up shirt, making eggs in the morning, and you knew they fucked. So, you know, it's definitely interesting to think about that.
Right, and it's also one of the things too for a lot of people, just projection. Like a lot of people, they're uncomfortable. They don't like to see sex scenes, so they're like, "Well, this is a chance for me to get it out there." But these are your personal preferences, and you don't have to watch.
And I wonder how representative it is of the audience, because the conversations online tend to be towards miserable. That being said, someone in the chat said they think this generation, the talking point that this generation hates sex is a little overblown. I would tend to agree, except we statistically have evidence that young people are having less sex than they've ever had in any time that we tracked it. So to me, that's something is happening, whether it's being reflected in our media or whether the media is driving it. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be,
but that's a very
pandemic. Like a lot of people's behavior has changed a lot.
That's a very real thing that's happening, and I do wonder about that shit. I don't know that they hate it, but
they're just not having it with each other.
I mean, I have my theory, and then once again, I'm working this out as we're talking. I think it's something about being digital takes away intimacy, good and bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Like in the good ways, you know, maybe people can hurt you less, or maybe you feel less betrayed. Maybe there's less opportunity to be physically hurt by somebody you've never seen or met. But emotionally, we're still hurting each other. Depression is still like skyrocketing. The way people feel about their bodies definitely comes through, where they're like, this is harming people's perceptions of their own bodies. Just scrolling Instagram, seeing somebody can hurt you. So so we're less physically connected, less physical community is happening. And when you think about digital, what doesn't happen in the digital space? Sex.
Right. And you know? and also you you're living in shout out to 19 days, you're living in a generation of computer love. And it's not the same. And so for a lot of people, the computer love is actually their form of intimacy, their form of getting to know somebody. You know, the younger generation, everybody kind of does this, but the younger generation, the higher probability to have sex, you know, through their phone, sex, you know, or through
OnlyFans,
right.
You know?
And so to them, that is intimacy. Back in the day, you had to physically be with somebody in order to get that. Now you don't have to do that anymore. And so that changes, to me, that changes the relationship people have with sex, the relationship people have with other people. You know, it changes the dynamics of, you know, a lot of things. And, you know, you're talking to a generation who sometimes don't understand that it's this shift happening here.
Yeah. And I love what you brought up about the pandemic. I mean, it's the thing where it was unfortunate. It was inevitable. It was like, what you going to do? You either going to let make the kids go to school and get sick, or you're going to make people stay at home. And people are like, well, it will affect their mental health. And I'm like, it will. So will a pandemic. So will all their loved ones dying when we didn't have a vaccine and all that stuff. But all that stuff, it was just you have to make two unfortunate choices. Which one are you going to do?
Right.
And I think kids growing up during this pandemic, during this very polarized political time, during this digital age, I'm sure it's having some type of effect. Now, those kids aren't creating the media necessarily, meaning the people that are in the place to direct euphoria are not children that were in school. But
correct.
I definitely wonder if this is a reflection of our times, the kind of sexless nature of it. Like, you can be sexy, but sex is still to people to some degree.
Yeah, and also, for like I said, because of the pandemic, you have people that children that may have been introverts and went even more inward. Right. You still have adults that are like to the extreme with like they never change. They will wear their mask everywhere they go. Like, so this shit is mentally impacting everybody. And if it mentally impacts you, it will impact your interaction with people. And if you are somebody go, I don't want your COVID, your cooties, or whatever, for you, you're like, well, then I actually, don't want to be intimate with you unless I really, really know you, right. type of thing. And so, yes, you're more selective, you're more picky, you're not going to fuck everything moving, you're like, it has to be worth your time.
It's like how we know kids play outside less and they're tracked more. And part of that is because we know so much now. We know more than we used to know. So even at a time where it's actually less dangerous than ever, meaning your kid can go outside and play and be fine. They don't need a chaperone to the park. They can walk back and forth in the neighborhood and they'll be just fine. But we now know so much of the dangers lurking outside in the darkness. Our minds won't let us not be in control. Most of us listening to this show and us making it grew up latchkey kids, right? You get out of school, here's a key, you get home, your parents still at work. Now we're I think a lot of that would be considered almost bad parenting now. We've covered articles on here.
We call DS.
We covered articles on here before where parents got in trouble because they were like, I let my kid walk to the park up the street and walk home.
Right.
And there's a whole fucking news crew that came out just to talk to this parent like, what the fuck is the story here? And it's like, that used to be every kid.
Yeah, that used to be normal. And so, for a lot of parents that go, the fuck, like, our parents don't want to have a leash on their child all of the time.
Well, I'm making the point is the point's not about those parents or those kids. My point is the change in society.
Right.
We are less amongst each other. We are more afraid. And so I wonder if that also affects people where it's like, I'm more afraid of sex with people. I'm more afraid. Even the way sex turned into like apps. How do you meet somebody in app? That's not like meeting in person chemistry necessarily. Some apps like Tinder were exclusively like, it's time to fuck.
Right.
Like this, like actually, if you want to like meet me for a relationship, I mean, this ain't the one. Like, holla at the different app. I just want to swipe left or right on your body or your profile.
Right.
Like I'm not really I'm consuming you like content. And you're going to be my sexual content tonight. Once again, this isn't saying that's good or bad as far as if that's individually what someone wants to do, but the macro level of how does that change the functions of our society and our relationships with each other? I think it's very valid. And this conversation that he was having on this podcast made me think of all this shit because I've never really thought about it before. And I think there's something there. And unfortunately, it's not a conversation I'm interested in having online because I saw that there were people that had clearly been having these conversations already and they had been arguing with each other already. And so they had like entrenched camps of like, there should never be a sex scene. I don't, what good has a sex scene ever done for anybody? And I'm like, okay, I don't agree with that. And then there was the like, listen, man, what? So just because a couple scenes was bad, we shouldn't have sex scenes or whatever. I'm like, I don't know that anyone's saying that either. Henry Cavill didn't say that,
right? And it's one of those things where it's a balance, and I think that like everything else, people project, and when it comes to that, is like you say, there's stats and statistics, but with something particular with sex, people go, well, this is how I feel, kind of the end to it, regardless of the reality of what's happening around them.
Yeah, I think, and then the last thing I'll say too is just, I don't want to say it's an overreaction. I just feel like it's a course correction that maybe it's gonna rein itself in. Because what I'm seeing now is a lot of like the studios and the actors and directors getting ahead of the outrage and being like, we wrote sex scenes because we felt they were necessary. If we got an actor or actress that felt they wanted comfortable doing it, wanted to do it, we had intimacy coordinators. We feel, and then we're in interviews telling you we are all okay with this.
Right.
And then I think that may just have to be the new way it happens, because what we don't want to have is, you get 5-10 years into your career, and whether the person is lying, where they actually thought it was cool for their career at the time, but now they feel a little shamed, or they feel like
you want people to have agency. Yes.
You want to, people try to change their image and be like, oh no, I was never like that. It's Paris Hilton pretending she was smart the whole time, that kind of shit. Or whether it's people being genuine and saying, I felt exploited, but I was afraid to say anything at the time because I was just starting my career, which, like Shanna brought up, Henry Cavill possibly being in a relationship now and changing his mind. And I'm like, that could be it. And it could also be when Henry Cavill was younger and was just trying to make it. And someone said, we need you to take off your shirt. He was like, I'm taking off the shirt.
Right.
And he may have not thought it added much to the scene at the time, but he was like, fuck it, man. I work out, I know the game, but yeah, anyway, I think it made me think about all that stuff. And I wonder if we're just going to have to get used to a new, like, we love sex scenes, like type of promotion for R-rated movies that have sex in them. Cause I think definitely the discussions that are happening online are not, they almost never are okay with sex, like, period.
Right. They're like, shut that shit down. I was like, now that's stupid and not realistic either. Yeah. We got to have a boundary somewhere. Okay, you're uncomfortable with sex. You don't. Okay, good, but you don't get to dictate what I get to consume.
Yeah, and it still feels to me. I think this feels better, even with the dominance of the PG-13 sexless movie star. It still feels better to me than the 80s and 90s, where a lot of times I felt like they just wanted to put titties in this scene. And I'm sorry, like, I know the discussion has become polarized and so it's extreme, but it's kind of, to me, if you've never watched a movie and thought that, you're crazy.
Ain't that true?
There used to be, like, I can make a running joke of just how many times I've seen, like, a movie that was like a cop movie and they bust into a room and a woman ran out with her titties out. And if it was an R-rated movie and it was cops, it was like, you gonna see some titties at some point. We gonna make sure that, so that, like, there were times where you just like, okay, Swordfish literally has a story of, we went to Holly Berry, we knew this movie sucked, and we were like, can you show your titties? We'll pay you X amount of dollars per titty. And the whole promotion for that movie was her going around on late night shows and being like, yes, it's true, I pulled my titties out in this movie. And that's why everybody went to see that movie, because people don't rave about how great Swordfish was.
Right.
So we know for a fact this is part of life and it can be iconic. And maybe you think it's worth it to be like, at least we saw Holly Berry's titties. I'm not,
right.
Listen, I saw those titties too. They was tittying. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it at all.
But clearly the motivation within that was what the fuck? We need to get some titties in here. So it just depends on how people feel. Go ahead.
Right. And it's also one of those things too, where, like I say, it's a generational shift. It's a age shift, different things have affected people in different ways. And, it's going to be interesting to see it kind of course correct back the other way, because like I say, I know as an adult, everything is not for me. So I don't mind, like you say, the PG-13, like the things that have these parameters around it. But when it comes to certain things, I'm like, I'm an adult. I came here for adult shit, adults fuck. So, okay, like, don't take it all out because somebody else has dictated that they don't want to consume it.
Yeah. I also wonder how much, like, pornography has changed it and the availability of it.
Yes.
Because there used to be a time where it's like a big deal that some celebrity got naked in a movie. And while it's still somewhat of a big deal, I think with the saturation of porn in everybody's, like, digital devices constantly going to social media, and it's basically like, people can post themselves sucking somebody's dick right there. People seen Drake dick the last couple of days and been talking about it on Twitter. Like the idea,
I don't be knowing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even want to. say nothing because I haven't seen it and I wasn't looking for it. I did want to talk about it because I feel like the algorithm on Twitter is like, oh, I heard you make a joke about Drake's dick. Here's the video. So
right.
I was just like, let me just stay away from this because I don't
want to randomly pop me either.
Good for all those that do want to see it and do care. But I just didn't. It's not a debate I wanted to hop into. But yeah, it was interesting seeing how it's interesting thinking about how much we see like just real sex all the time.
Right.
So like in a way, for me, it's had the effect of reducing how I don't really care that much about a sex scene in a movie anymore, period. Whether people think it's exploitative or not, you know, very few of those scenes rise to the level where I'm like, God damn. Like most of the time I'm just like, yeah, but I mean, if you want to see somebody doing this for real, you can just literally go in your pocket. So it's, you know, it's a lot less of a taboo. And so I wonder if that has any effect. All right. Monique slams Tiffany Haddish, Kevin Hart, and Oprah Winfrey because she went on the Club Shay Shay.
Of course.
3 hours long.
Yes. Cat Williams set the standard. And yes, that like when people come on there, particularly certain people, that's going to be their thing.
Yeah, I forget who the other person, because he tried to do another a Cat Williams style interview a while ago, but it didn't catch on. Man. Who was it? But it was definitely somebody that people were like, oh, I know they go
before Cat.
But it was after Cat.
Okay.
It was like Cat Williams, then this person, then Monique. And I swear to God, I can't remember. That's how bad it was, y'all. I don't even remember the second person. And I know, and I remember seeing the picture of like, oh, they going on there. And everybody was like, oh shit. And then it was like, I guess it didn't catch on. Maybe I can find it on his podcast feed.
Of course.
But yeah, Monique, at this point, we know what she's going to say.
Right. I was like, yeah, we know she's going to have grievances.
Yeah, this isn't even like when you had Cat Williams is a bit of a surprise to everybody. Now it's not a surprise. Damn, that's funny. I'm sorry. Club Shay Shay, February 3rd and February 4th on their podcast feed, put out a Best of Usher, Cat Williams, 21 Savage, and Country Wayne. Then the next day, February 4th, Best of Cat Williams. So he is milking the shit out of the Cat Williams, is what I'm saying.
Y'all gonna get it.
Like he is 100% trying to like.
I'm getting all of the views.
Yeah,
and I don't blame him.
Yeah, but yeah. Oh no, Country Wayne. They tried to bring up Just Hilarious because they used to date and had beef or something, but that didn't really catch on. Man, I don't remember who this other person was, but it was definitely somebody after Cat that I was like, oh, he's trying to do it again. But yeah, so of course, you got Monique, and it's the same thing. The clips are being spread online, and it's becoming the Cat Williams effect of she ain't lying, she ain't never lied, everything she said is true, and all this stuff. And I used to be kind of like, yeah, I mean, I get her point, and if she still wants to keep that same energy, nobody can make her not whatever. But then after that shit with D.L. Hughley's daughter, I just said, you know what, something is going on with her that's way deeper than
it is
whatever the fuck is, because like, and people will let her, and there's a level of like loyalty people feel these days to like, I have to support this celebrity that I don't feel for anybody.
I do not.
Like I just want to be fair.
Yeah, right.
Like if y'all hear me defending,
be just and fair, right?
Yeah, if I'm defending someone on the podcast or I'm trying to explain or understand that perspective, it's because I feel like that's where the fairness lies. Not to be contrarian, not because I'm just such a big fan. I don't give a fuck. Yes, talk about his daughter being molested, girl. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to ignore shit just because I like the person or whatever. Right. And if I do, I try to be open about it. Like, hey, I like this celebrity, and so they might have did something fucked up, but I don't care, right? But
yeah, that was a bad look when she did that.
Yeah, and then like
people don't act like, hey, what the fuck his daughter got to do with y'all beef?
It made me start examining the stuff she had said about D.L. Hughley, and once I started seeing how it wasn't adding up in more than one case, you know, like the headlining thing didn't really add up when the paperwork was in. And I know people don't like D.L. Hughley, so they didn't they were like, she's right because they don't like him. But
right. But facts are facts.
Facts are facts. You know, the stuff about his radio show turning out to not be true, like at least to the extent she said, where he like orchestrated something. I don't know, man. I'm going to watch this at some point, listen to it, just for entertainment's sake, and I don't want to like speak on it and not listen to it. But I'm not surprised by this, and I think people love. This is the year of the grievance,
ain't it though?
People love seeing the celebrity grievance. It says a lot that this is a retread, that we already knew what she would say.
Right.
And that people are sharing it again because that's how, I don't know, bored we are or how much we want the grievance, content. But we know she don't like Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
And then people are mad at Shannon because Shannon, of course, is doing his Shannon level of interviewing. And he just likes to egg people on to keep asking the same question and acting flabbergasted to everything.
It's just an act.
And and people are like, oh, what? He didn't listen to the tape she gave him? I'm like, he probably did, but if he can keep her talking for 2 more minutes by going, now hold on, now you can't say that about Oprah. He gonna say that.
Yes, that's his job.
Yeah.
That's why y'all there, right?
Right. And kind of like Kat, she got the same freedom. I mean, he has shown that he has a platform for that level of like, you can say what you want. I'm going to act shocked, and then I'm going to let you keep talking.
Yeah, so Kat told the truth. One thing about that, Kat was like, yeah, I came out here because I know I could do this.
Yeah, you let people lie in your face and you don't say shit.
Right.
You don't really challenge anything. But once again, it's not like everything Kat said was a lie. Right. We'll never know exactly what was lying true because some stuff can't be corroborated. But
agreed.
Everything she says isn't going to be a lie either. I'll say this, though. Somebody sent me DL Hughley's Instagram post because I guess she tried to drag him through the mud again. And once again, we know factually DL had his facts together. And it took his family getting her together to be like, hey, this shit isn't true. And this, I love us for real. I love my babies. And I love black women. Why are you dragging this black girl through her trauma again for content in an argument with her daddy?
Right.
And it was full of, kind of fucked up things that, that she was saying that, however you feel about it. And man, DL really fucking the shit he said, I thought I was like, God damn.
It sounded like I haven't heard it, but it sounded like he had enough.
Yeah, he basically had enough.
Yeah, because he was like, I thought it was dead. I told you to, put my name out your mouth, but you keep coming back to this bullshit.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. But once again, remember, I'm playing this having not heard the whole interview. So maybe I'll hear something in the interview that's different that I'll go, oh, okay, that's what he said was out of pocket. But I mean, it seemed like facts to me. But yeah, okay, I think this is the one. Let's see if I can unmute.
Messier and messier. It's almost like Wendy Williams didn't go anywhere. She just got a wave set.
Talking about Shannon Sharp and Club Shay Shay.
So Monique was on. Every time I see Monique these days, she's on doing some greasy ass video with her and her daddy complaining about something or working out. I don't know nobody that work out that much and gain weight unless every crunch you do has got Captain in front of it. But apparently she goes on Club Shay Shay and tells the
fat phobia gonna jump out. Of course. But apparently that's fair game. When Cat Williams was doing this, fine.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, because this thing like, oh, you want to talk about my baby? Okay, well then all bets is off.
Yeah, Stephen A was doing it. People get mad, they're gonna bring up people's weight. It just I don't even know what to tell you.
About how she came on my radio show and I wasn't there at the time. And my co-host Jasmine Sanders played a game.
And then you're right, Karen. In all fairness, the stuff she said about him and his daughter and all this stuff. Because he was like,
I was keeping it classy until you did a low blow.
It was beyond a pale. I don't know if this is something that's common in DL's comedy or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying he just tried to write, but I get it.
The joke is also a bar. It's pretty funny. The Captain Crunch thing is funny. But anyway.
that we played all the time with everybody called Would You Rather. She apparently was so offended by that she said she got off. She called me. Monique did, and she said I was very dismissive, like, Monique's a liar. When Monique did call me, I heard her complaints. I listened to her, and I pulled the segment. So if I had been as dismissive as she alleges I was, that segment would have aired. It didn't, because I respected her wishes. She's a liar.
And I remember her talking about that the last time they went back and forth. And her whole assertion was like, even though they didn't seem to have had any problems up to that point, he somehow wasn't there on purpose to set her up to have them do that. And to me, that's a person that's had trauma somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, something's happened.
Because I can never disprove. Like, it's like I don't know if people listening to this ever have, but I would assume a lot of people are, as human beings, have had this happen. Anytime you've been falsely accused of something that you can't disprove, because it's like, I know that this is what you were really thinking, and there's something where you're like, okay, but what really happened to you? Because it wasn't me. If it's hysterical, it's historical. What happened to you before this that made you be a person that thinks I need to set you up? Because all I could give you is my word that I wouldn't.
Right.
You know, if he was trying to get her, why wouldn't he just air the segment just to, oh, fuck it, I got you.
Right. So the segment was never aired. So the public basically, unless I don't know if they aired it live at that time, right. But other than that, you basically do not know what was on that segment.
Right. And I definitely understand the vibes of, because I'm like this too. I'm very much a Libra. If you burn me, I'm gonna burn you back. And I might, I mean, this is why I try not to move in anger, because I definitely say something that I don't really believe, or something that I wouldn't do in a different, like at my peak reasonableness, I'll be like, no, I don't need to say that about that person. But yeah, I can definitely see how a person that someone talked about that their daughter like that would be like, I'm about to air your ass out.
Yeah, I can see that too. Like I said, for me, similar to you, I don't when it comes to anger, I stay out of anger, because I know everybody has that part of them, but I know my anger can become all consuming. And so for me, I'm like, nah, I like for me, that's why a lot of times shit happens and I just be like, I happen to let stuff roll off. So for me, I am the type of person where if I give you all of my undivided attention, it's something that has kind of been adding up because I've been ignoring. So when I do respond, it's like all of the pent up rage is going to come out, because in my mind I'm like, now I got to waste my goddamn time on you.
I know it's been times where we lost fans because I went off from somebody and I was like, then we lost those fans. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm a human being that's not going to just take it every time.
Right.
Sometimes I'm going to be like, nope, all right, let's fight then, and then people don't like that you fought back, but it's like, I never claimed to be an angel.
Agreed. And it's also, one of the things, for me, when I do get angry, it's quote unquote almost out of character, and I shock everybody in the room because it's literally opposite to my nature, So for me to get mad, angry, upset, oh, you have really, really done something foul, or you have pissed me off.
It's also befuddles the shit out of me how somebody who, as a comedian, talks as much shit about everybody else as she does. She has the temerity to be offended about anything as much shit as you say about people. Then she encouraged everybody, allegedly it stems from the fact that I used to always talk shit about her on video after video, and she encouraged her sweet babies to look at the video and find them. Do that. Do exactly what she says. And you know what you're not going to find? You're not going to find any evidence of that, because Monique is a fucking liar. She's lying about that. But what you will find is Monique talking shit about some alleged contract dispute we had. Look at the ticket. It says D.L. Hughley, then Monique. She knows the story. But what she did in response to that, she talked about my dog, my wife. This broad even brought out my daughter's personal trauma. My daughter was molested, and Monique brought that shit out and told the world that I allowed my daughter to be raped in front of me. The lying motherfucker. She knows she was lying. And it only stopped when everybody from my family checked her. It's interesting. You know what else you won't see Monique doing? You won't ever see her with her family, videos with her children or grandchildren. because nobody fucks with me. How do you have sweet babies when your own babies don't fuck with you? How do you love us for real when there's no evidence of anybody loving you for real except your daddy, who you apparently have to pay? And FYI, daughters are paid for by daddies, not daddies who get paid by their daughters. You know what else you won't see Monique doing? Telling jokes. Monique, if she'd have spent as much time actually writing jokes and writing her Netflix special as she did complaining about not having one, it wouldn't have been trash. It got the worst reviews of any Netflix special in history, because that's what Monique does. She complains and she has grievances. You never see her being a human being. You never see her being sweet and warm to people, except when she's using it to butter somebody up to get something. There's a reason why everywhere she goes, shit starts. Everywhere she goes. How is it that nobody fucks with you, not even your family? How do you, I was on the road, get it. I get it every goddamn week. Look at my schedule versus yours. See how much I'm going. And I still manage to have a relationship that I cherish with my children. Can you say the same? You can't. Because all you do is talk about your grievances and who did you wrong. There's a reason you're by yourself. There's a reason you got to pay a man to love you. It's sad. There's an old adage that says you can't buy love. It's a shame, Monique, that you probably always will have to.
God damn.
Yeah, you can tell he's fed up. Like for somebody to come out and say things like that, you're like, oh, since nobody cares, since the gloves, quote unquote, the gloves are off, let the gloves be off then. Like, you know, if you gonna come at me and do full body shots, I'm coming back with the body shots too, and the hits land where they may.
That was what I was wondering if somebody would do after Cat Williams. And it felt like, I think a lot of reason that people think Cat Williams shit was like, it's true, it's all true, is because nobody had a retort back to him that said, like, this shit didn't happen the way you said it happened, and fuck you, don't even be lying on me like that. I can't speak for these other motherfuckers because, you know, Oprah, Tyler Perry, they got too much to lose, and I don't think they'll ever want to get in the mudslinging fight.
I wouldn't either.
With Monique. And I've even seen a couple times where they've tried to squash it publicly, and I'm like, it won't be enough.
No.
You know, I think Steve Harvey tried to squash it. Like, anyone, that's the other thing. Anybody that's tried to, like, help her, quote unquote, or address it, eventually goes on the enemy list. I remember Steve Harvey trying to do that, and she basically painted him as like a capitulating coon, you know. So it's like, okay, well, let me go back to minding my business.
Right.
But D.L. Hughley had a full-throated rebuttal that I would like to see other people do after these shows. If you're going to address it. If not, then I guess, you know, just be above it. But, you know, Cedric the Entertainer coming out and like, nah, tell us why it's a lie. You know what I mean? Tell us that how you ain't still that joke, you know, like give us that, you know. But yeah, I mean, that shit was pretty thorough.
Yeah, and like I said, and to an extent, I can see why a lot of people are like, I'm not gonna do that. You know, I can really see why some people go, that's not my nature, that's against, or whatever the case may be. But if that's the case, not trying funny, don't say nothing at all.
Right. Yeah, she's very talented. Like, I'll never knock Monique for that. I think she's a great actress. And you know, like I thought I didn't think the last Netflix special was that good, but I've seen her perform before where I thought she was very funny. So
me too.
I don't want to just lump. I think, you know, the hyperbole is the lump into like she's terrible. You know, I remember when she had that beef with Netflix being like, I mean, she's not gonna get the money of these people she's naming as like, I should, like, she's not gonna get Chris Rock money or even
Amy
Schumer money. But like, saying she should get more than what she was offered wasn't controversial to me.
It wasn't crazy, right?
But man, you know, it's something that people have always said to me, and I'm not just saying every person. A lot of Black women told me this at the time when I was kind of like caping for her in that situation. They were like, the problem is her husband. The problem is daddy. And the dude, he's her manager, husband, and daddy, father figure, and whatever. And she listens and runs up behind him and says, like, and then she's very publicly proud about how he's controlling her career. And they were like, he the one that's fucking up these deals. He's the one that got her at odds. How come every situation with everybody, she's always getting done wrong? The contract with the venue where she thought she was headlining, who the fuck wrote the contract? Because when you see the paperwork, you're like, well, clearly that's not what the paperwork says. Right. But you're telling me that this is different. And who negotiated the deal? Who, like, agreed. Who's in the video standing behind you silently? So yeah, I think that that's definitely like a sore spot for her, even for her defenders, because she brought up Tiffany Haddish, and in the clip I saw where she was saying that Tiffany Haddish brought her up in a GQ interview where she said she runs her business different than Monique. My business run different than her business. I don't live her life. I don't have that husband of hers. And Monique fired back. When I saw that, it's like, Tiffany, if you had a husband like mine, you may not have 2 DUIs. If you had a husband like mine, you may not be caught up in what looks like you could have been grooming a child. Talking about that sketch. And it's interesting because, like, people are sharing that clip, but I almost can guarantee to a person, if I'm like, so y'all think the way daddy runs her life, that's what y'all think women should be aspiring to? And they'll probably be like, hell no. Ain't no nigga finna run my life. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's well, but like I said, I still had to go listen to it. It's funny because the Monique said Oprah Winfrey betrayed her, but I remember that betrayal being Oprah having her on a talk show and trying to like reconcile her estranged family with Monique, which goes back to kind of what DL said about, for all this love and family and sweet babies and community, you don't seem to have the people that's supposed to be tight with you, not tight with you, except for this man. So anyway, more messy 2024.
That's all. Yeah, that's what it's gonna be apparently. Year of grievances.
We love to see it. A woman who went viral for Christian BBL revealed she suffered an infection following surgery.
Brazilian butt lift?
No, a Christian BBL. Oh yeah. Christian Brazilian butt lift.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was
go
wait
ahead,
a minute.
get it off.
Maybe I got the BBL wrong.
No, you got it right. I messed up. I didn't realize. I thought you were saying the Christian part was part of the BBL, but I mean, yeah, the BBL stands for Brazilian butt lift.
Okay, no problem.
Initially, the 25-year-old woman claimed to have been given spiritual permission from God to get the BBL.
Child, you don't need his permission. Just go and get your work done.
In a recent vlog, YouTuber Sophiology, who is legally known as Sophia Idahosa, okay, shared that.
That's what a name. That's a name, ain't it?
That sounds like a drag name.
Yes, Idahosa.
Yeah, Idahosa. That's a dope ass drag name.
Yes.
Anyway, she shared that after getting a cosmetic procedure, she developed an abdominal infection last week. Explaining her health issues. Dermatologist discovered an infection on my abdomen, basically causing me to be very sick, weak, and not healing as I should. She prescribed antibiotics, topical treatments for the scars, and recommended I rest. I had to postpone my follow-up appointment with Dr. Young and my post-op massage appointments. Now, it's interesting that they tell people this, because it's like after you because they clown her for that Christian BBL shit. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's content, because it's like, well, they clown me, but I went viral, so I guess I'm gonna go viral when y'all find out I got an infection from it.
Yep, because that's what people do.
Yeah, she said the dermatology appointment went well, but she should have got diagnosed and prescribed, and the prescription she should have went sooner, is what she said. And she booked the appointment last minute because of how much pain she was in last night. So as much pain as I'm in right now, just disappointment that this is even happening. I'm happy that I have medicine now, things to help cure it.
Yeah, because the thing is, everything is content, even your L's. And maybe I'm old.
True.
Nigga, let me take my L in the darkness. Y'all motherfuckers ain't got to see me take a goddamn L. That don't make sense to me.
Take my L in the darkness.
Yeah, people go, I took an L, y'all. I got my ass whooped, y'all. Oh, this bitch took my weave, y'all. I broke my teeth, y'all. You were like, well, damn, what child, you know this is forever.
That's facts, Karen. Energy drinks may increase children's risk of ADHD, anxiety, and depression. Yeah, I mean, is anyone? First of all, children. Probably everybody who drinks them But is anyone? I look at energy drinks like I look at cigarettes or alcohol or whatever the fuck else kind of things that like we do as adults that we know like we know there's gonna be some consequences for fucking with this shit. You know, it's like it's like if you eat Nashville hot fried chicken every night, you're like it's gonna be some consequences. But I'm enjoying it.
High blood pressure, cholesterol, heart might stop.
Yeah,
yes.
You might have to use the bathroom. It might hurt a little bit. But the point being,
you
knew that when you ate the shit,
right?
So I guess we needed a study to be like children slamming caffeine down their throat might give them ADHD, anxiety, and depression.
No shit.
And apparently there's no age restriction on purchasing these drinks. Now that I didn't know.
I did not know. I thought it was an age restriction. You know what? And I and y'all, this is one reason why I never grew up consuming caffeine. This is why I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going through all that. It's hot cocoa, so I just skip the shit and go to hot cocoa. Because my mom was like, children don't need caffeine. She was really old school with that. The fuck I'm gonna give you coffee for? You got enough energy, but I do not need to energize you up anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think the caffeine in like a soda is different. You know, There's also caffeine in chocolate and stuff.
But this is more for coffee for her. She was like,
I know what you're saying. So like children get caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's different because the purpose of an energy drink is to give you just more and more of that caffeine hyped up feeling. Even with caffeinated coffee, it's got more than that in it. So like, look, we don't have kids. There's probably some parents listening and be like, listen, if Timmy don't get his Monster energy drink, he just ain't gonna be right in the morning. I don't know,
Man, I don't know.
Kids never cried at me because I was like, that's enough rock star for you.
Right. Put that down.
But this feels like a study that I could have did this study with none of the research. I could have been like, give me $1 million for a grant. And I would have came back in a month and been like, guys, it's causing depression, ADHD, and anxiety in these kids. And they'd be like, oh, okay, what's the evidence? Nigga, they drinking the shit, and that's what's in the can.
Right. And my thing is, I'm like you. I did not know there was not an age limit. Pure caffeine, like more than coffee. Like this is like some really strong shit.
Is there an age limit on the caffeine powder we talked about last week?
Oh, the one they snorting like cocaine up their noses.
I wonder. You gotta wonder.
It probably is not.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. There are also higher rates of suicide ideation and attempts among those who drank more than one energy drink a day.
Woo, child. I remember, I don't know if this is the same. Is this like them 5 hours? Does that fall in this category?
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I worked at Shoney's, some of the girls would really like work doubles and things like that. And they would do that. And I would watch them. They would be so jittery and shit like that. They would talk about having heart palpitation. I was like, I'm not taking that bullshit.
Yeah, and then just it's also the fact that you can't trust a kid to be like, I'll just have half a Red Bull. It's not, I was a kid. That's not how I ever thought.
No.
If I had enough money for 2 slices of pizza, I was getting 2 slices of pizza at lunch.
Yes. If I get 2 orders of fries, bitch, I'm getting them both.
Yeah, and I know they promote this stuff with like video gaming and stuff. A lot of the drink companies have gotten into it. Like your soda companies have their own like energy drinks. So, and that without there being like an age restriction, something's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
A 12-ounce can of Prime Energy contains 200 milligrams of caffeine compared to a 34 milligrams found in a 12-ounce Coca-Cola.
God damn!
So basically, you get like 5 times. It seems like 5 or 6 times as much. About 6 times as much caffeine in 12 ounces of that energy drink that you get in a Coke.
Is this what Panera Bread got their formula from?
Right. The Charged Lemonade. Yeah, I remember drinking Red Bull vodkas when I had white friends. And the next day, first of all, I wouldn't really be able to sleep much that night. And then the next day at work, I would be jittery as fuck, burping up Red Bull and vodka still. And I was like, y'all go out and do this several times a week? Y'all just live like this? And I would stop. Like a lot of times I just wouldn't drink with them because I'm like, this is crazy that y'all just do this, Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's I'm not surprised by these findings at all. And I wonder if maybe we'll see some some legal repercussions or some regulations come into play.
Yes, you will, because child, this is America. Somebody's special white snowflake child gonna get fucked up and then get smacked with a lawsuit and all the rules gonna change. That's what happened with somebody about Four Loko. That's how Four Loko, they got sued. Like, and Four Loko still around, but you can't get that original crack and you don't want it.
Jennifer Crumbley is the mom of the kid who shot up a school, and she was the first parent to ever be convicted on found guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Because these are the parents that actually fled, right?
Yes, yeah. I believe those are the same parents. She knew her son, 15 at the time of the shooting, was struggling with alarming mental health issues. They said instead of getting him help he needed, she and her husband bought him the gun he used in the attack and attempted to flee when it became likely he would be charged. They would be charged. James Crumbley, who faces the same charges as his wife, is scheduled to go on trial in March. Be funny if he don't get it. She do, but
that'd be fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, and it's precedent setting, and it's because it's the first time ever, and you wonder if this will be something that happens in the future with these, because there's always red flags, and there's certain parents that just I got the Second Amendment right to have my kid have a gun, not gonna take my gun, and boom, now some people are dead because whatever reason you didn't give a fuck,
right?
A U.S. porn actor who advocates for Palestinians visits Iran on a trip, but then goes unacknowledged by Tehran. An American porn actor who advocated for Palestinians online during Israel's war on Hamas. Isn't it still happening?
It sure is.
I think they're still killing people.
Y'all. Yes, they are.
Traveled to Iran and visited the former U.S. embassy in Tehran, which was abandoned after the 1979 hostage crisis. The visit by Whitney Wright, as Iran's imprisoned Nobel Peace Prize laureate and women's rights activist Narges Mohammadi, sparked heated criticism of the country's crackdown on women since the 2022 death in police custody of Mahsa Amini and the nationwide protests it sparked. Wright filmed herself throughout Tehran, despite her work in pornography exposing her, in theory, to criminal charges that carried the death penalty.
They don't be playing over there, y'all. Y'all better know these rules.
Wright did not respond to requests for comment from the Associated Press, but in the remarks on social media, she described the U.S. Embassy as a place she had to visit. Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard now runs it as a museum. Iranian students backing Ayatollah Khomeini overran the compound after the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Embassy staff members were taken hostage and held for 444 days. A direct line can be drawn between that crisis and the tensions between Iran and the U.S. today. She had previously shared pro-Palestinian information online, including material supporting armed militancy against Israel. As a U.S. citizen born in Oklahoma City, she would need a visa to visit Iran. Iran's mission to the United Nations did not respond to questions about the actor's trip. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani, I think, was asked about Wright during the Monday briefing, and he said he had no information about her. I think it's interesting that people are like, wow, how can the government not even acknowledge she was there? It's like, because if they acknowledged it, probably wouldn't be good. Like, because if you admit that you know she over there, then you probably got to arrest her, because just because you're on the side of their cause doesn't mean they're pro-pornography or any of the shit that we think is good in America.
Correct.
Like,
you go to these other countries. They don't have the same rules and laws that we have here.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Iranian actor Satare Pesiani cited Wright's visit to criticize Iran's hardline government for its mandatory headscarf policy, which led to the 22-year-old Amini's arrest and death. Now, that is the woman that was killed in custody, I think they said it couple years ago, which sparked a big protest movement. You punish people of this country in various methods for removal of a hijab, but you allow a porn actress to come here for tourism. So once again, the sides are kind of messy on this, and this, sometimes the people that are very critical of the pro-Palestinian movement online say stuff that seems very dismissive, where they're just like, y'all are like on the side of Hamas, and Hamas would never support any of the shit y'all talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I think this is the illustration of that, of like you, and I'm not saying you should change your point of view or your stance,
Right.
but you're not necessarily aligned on a lot of other very crucial things, because you know,
And we're
there's
not
a lot
from
of
that area.
yeah, anti-LGBTQ stuff. There's a lot of misogyny and all this other stuff, and literally like not the misogyny like, oh, this hip hop verse, but like, we will kill you, we will stone you to death type shit. So I don't know if she expected that or whatever, you know. Hopefully she's safe and back in the States or whatever, and she got her protest in. But yeah, I was not shocked by the fact that there were people that were like, get the fuck out of here with this shit. Even with them going, they probably agree about a lot of stuff when it comes to Israel, and they're still like, get the fuck out of our country with this bullshit.
Right.
All right, let's see. What else should we talk about? You know what? I'll save that one for later.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do. Let me check to see if there's any articles I want to talk about here. Oh yeah, I guess we do a little bit of fucking with black people.
Okay.
Real quick. As soon as I pull up the fucking with black people music.
25, 50, 75, 100. How much is you fucked with? How much is you fucked with?
Death by 1,000 cuts, microaggressions, gaslighting, dog whistles, manic depression. Work twice as hard no matter how high the bar is. I give it 100, now fuck it, Dracarys.
25, 50, 75, 100. How much is you fucked with? How much is you fucked with?
Zoom cut DEI focused team as corporate America retreats on diversity and initiatives.
Everybody, that's the first thing they chopping.
Yep.
Last one in, first to go.
Yep. So they fired a team of workers focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, and a lot of times all this shows that they were never serious in the first place, and it's a luxury. And when money starts drying up, or empathy runs out, or compassion runs out, they're like, well, we were never serious, no way.
Yeah.
Because if you're serious, you stick with it.
I agree. I mean, it's sad, but that's how the fuck shit goes.
And it's a cycle. Some of these same companies in the next X amount of years, when something else happened and they don't want to be called out, because, you know, and a lot of this, not trying to find, a lot of companies felt the pressure from particularly the younger generations by people wanting to hold companies to a moral standards and shit like this, even though they're just a company. And they're like, well, morally, this is how you should feel. Where they go, child, we about profits and margins and shit like that. Like, the fuck we got to do about this? You better say something. And they're like, okay, I guess we'll say something. And I guess we do these things that y'all ask us to do. But overall, as a company, we actually don't give a fuck. We about profits and margin and shit like this. This shit is covered. But like this, is this making us money or saving us money? If you don't fall in one of those two categories, in most companies, it's worthless.
Yeah, 0 to 100.
This right here, I'm gonna give it 2 scores. The first score is Dracarys. Don't do it if you're not serious. I hate to be like this. Like, don't invest the funds and hire these people and all this shit. But 0 because, not trying funny, it's a company. I'm old. When I was raised up, a company is just a company. You hire employees, your employees work, you pay them to do their job, the end. I grew up in a generation where the company didn't have these moral standards, more high grounds, where you companies wouldn't, you know, in politics and all that shit. Now, the people that owned it might be, but the company itself didn't take these stands. I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. I just want to buy your hamburger, your cheeseburger, your clothes. Like, I just want to consume whatever you're selling me. All this other bullshit, I don't give a fuck about. Like I said, that's because I'm old and I'm black, and I don't hold them to these moral standards that a lot of younger generations do. So those are my scores. Dracarys, because I'm like, don't do it if you're not going to be serious and dedicated to it.
Yeah, I echo both of your scores. I think that's fair, and that's basically how I feel about it. And it's gotten to the point where I'm a little bit not even like, I'm not surprised anymore. It's just more like, here we go with this bullshit again. Because, you know, first they're getting rid of these people.
Yeah, and truth be told, y'all do know there's a lot of companies that didn't do anything, and guess what? They're not dealing with the backlash because they never hired the people in the first place.
That's a good point. Tyrese clarifies his remarks about wishing he was born Latino. Says he wants more unity in the black community. Yeah, he went on to say, now this is funny. because remember you said sometimes I wish I was born Latino.
Yeah, we talked about it.
And somebody made a meme of him and he posted it on his own Instagram. And it's a
what they call a luchador? No, matador.
That's not a luchador. That's
the wrong one.
That's not what a luchador is. A Mexican wrestler.
Oh, matador. That's the wrong one.
I mean, maybe he looks somewhat like a matador. Yeah, I guess maybe. I don't think that's what they're called either.
The three Negroes.
The three amigos. What are you doing right now? Are you trying to be funny? Are you tasting pennies over there? You guys having a stroke.
No.
I
said three Negroes.
I need to live here, and I just need to make sure that we now need to get you screened.
We don't. Okay. Damn, you didn't get the joke. Okay.
No, it's not that I didn't. It's not that I didn't get the joke. I just need to make sure you were joking because I didn't know.
Yes, I was. Sir.
You can't be like, I always get shit wrong, and then be like, oh, you thought I got it wrong? I didn't know. The joke is the same as when you get it wrong. Don't act like I'm tripping.
My bad. You can't tell the difference.
Yeah, it's my fault. It's my fault. I can tell the difference.
I was kidding. My bad. It's all a joke, guys.
Three Negroes was a podcast with our good friend Ray Sonny on it.
Yes.
So I didn't know if you meant. I didn't know
because that also is like a.
I get the joke.
Okay.
I just didn't know.
Okay.
The delivery is the same as when you be like, I don't know who that is. What's her name?
That's also the three amigos.
Jason Mimosa.
Trying to make a joke.
Is Jason Mimosa a joke? No, you meant that.
No, I meant that.
Right.
Yeah,
okay, but I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I can't tell the difference. Oh, I'm crazy. I don't have a sense of humor, y'all. But yeah,
I'm sorry I said it in the same tone. I wish I had a Karen sarcasm tone.
No, you did
My
good.
bad.
You did good. It's very funny.
That's hilarious.
It was very funny. Tyrese says the internet is undefeated, so clearly he posted the meme that was made. And then he put some Cállate la boca, meaning shut your mouth. Hashtag black and brown pride. I said what I said. Then he put Cállate la boca again. I posted my caption 4 days ago, 3 days before Black History Month started. FYI, LOL, nobody. In my caption,
I'm not doing this during Black History Month.
Right. Right.
Y'all not gonna pin this on me. This is 3 days. Technically, it was prior to Black History Month.
You must have heard the podcast. In my caption, my last paragraph stated, of course, we are beyond powerful, influential, and successful. But imagine if we truly are linked up like other communities have linked, poured and built up each other instead of moving as fragmented as we're moving now and being so insecure, competitive, aka dysfunctional. We are the most powerful culture in the world. This is why they are so threatened and intimidated by the idea of us ever linking up. We have what it takes to take over the world. We are nothing trying to do it alone. Please chime in. Would love to know your thoughts on this.
That's hilarious. Now that right there, we
yeah,
for Black people. Just get it 0 because that picture is fucking hilarious. That mustache is greatness, and I will forgive it if you make me laugh. And that shit right there. To Photoshop.
I give it a 50. He cleaned up all the spelling and grammatical errors, so that's good. That was really adding to the score the first time. 2, we kind of knew what he was trying to say with that last paragraph, but you can't divorce it from the first fucking 3 paragraphs where you was shitting on the Black community. Like, don't try to gaslight me into thinking I'm crazy. Like, oh, wow, I don't even know why I ever thought he just didn't want unity. Like, no, you started with I wish I was born Latino sometimes. Then you praised every community but ours.
Right.
And then in that last paragraph, you can't clean all that shit up with 1 paragraph. So, it's still 50 for me. But I think the other reason it's 50 is because I can't take Tyrese very seriously. Like, I just don't see him as a Black political activist figure or whatever. Like, I see him as a guy that says wild shit all the time. So, all right, that's it for that segment. Let's move into the last segment and do some guess the race. Let me pull up my guess the race music. There we go.
What time is it?
It's time to guess the race.
It's time to guess the race. It's time to guess the race. It's time to guess the race.
Guess the race time. Time we go around the globe, find different articles, guess the race of the people involved. Chat room plays along, Karen plays along. Of course, they're all racist. A man claimed he killed his girlfriend in self-defense in a fight over how to chop onions, but police say it was murder.
God damn, what a crime situation.
Crime shame.
Yes, it is.
Men would rather kill their wife than go to therapy.
Yes.
He was crying. He was like, it's because I ain't chopping onions. I'm not no bitch.
Damn, stab.
Indiana,
she ain't chopping Giuliani or however they chop him. She ain't chopping right.
Now, I just want y'all to know. 5 seconds ago, Karen was acting like I'm fucking crazy. To be like, was that a joke or did you mess up? There's no such thing as Giuliani. Sounds like the mayor of New York, the ex-mayor of New York.
I know some shelf somewhere right now. It's like it's just dying.
Do you mean Julian? Like
thank
the
you.
Julian carrots?
Yes.
Right. But now, but I'm messing up her jokes, y'all. This is what we about. Okay?
This is what we about.
Indiana man who was arrested on accusations he murdered his girlfriend claimed he killed her in self-defense during a fight over how to chop onions. Charles Michael Calvert, 60, was arrested on a charge of murder in connection with the death of his girlfriend. Former magistrate Marcia Linsky inside of a Graybill home Saturday.
Oh no!
As good of an attorney as she was 10 times better a person, said the Allen County Chief Defender Bill Labrato. I can't say enough good things about her. Calvert is accused of stabbing Lindsay and then staging the crime scene. Authorities allege he possibly showered and cleaned up before calling 911. God damn.
Showered and cleaned up.
I mean, I guess
he
he
walked
wasn't
in
in no
there
rush.
zestfully clean.
Right. He's like, if I got to go to jail, I want to at least
be
smell.
clean.
Want to at least smell good on my way.
I don't want my hair to be oily.
Give me a big ass brick of soap. Because I ain't going to be able to drop the soap in there. He allegedly placed a call around 8:30 p.m. on February 3rd, reporting his girlfriend came at him with a knife. And he told the dispatcher she is no longer with us. The defendant stated, we were having an argument. We both were holding a knife and she came at me. When the officers arrived, they found the victim laying face down in the kitchen with a gash on her head and neck. The kitchen appeared disheveled with a broken crock pot, some bloody kitchen knives, and food items scattered around like there had been a struggle, said the affidavit. He allegedly told police he was cutting onions, and the victim stated he wasn't doing it correctly. He stated the victim shoved the crock pot towards him, and she came at him with a knife, and he grabbed the knife, and I became defensive and stated he didn't remember the other details. He appeared to have dried up blood on his hands because men don't know how to shower.
Apparently, he didn't get up underneath his nails.
Yeah, he didn't take enough time. He felt the knives on the floor appeared to be staged. The deputy did. A deputy coroner. Deputy coroner.
The people go, "Hey, I do this shit all the time.
Yeah,
like this is not
scene.
normal." They looking at the projection of the blood and shit. They go, this don't look right."
It said, be staged as they appeared to be placing in the victim's body neatly. The larger serrated knife was covered in blood, and the other knife appeared to be relatively clean. Authorities observed an onion peel in the garbage, but did not observe a chopped onion anywhere in the kitchen. So he even missed the little details. Like, did you eat the onion too?
He said he prepared dinner, he cooked.
Right.
They're like, sir, if this is a struggle, why do you look like you didn't struggle?
The
crock pot got all cleaned and shit.
The crock pot and its contents, ham, were spilled all over the kitchen floor, and the lid was shattered with the pieces of glass all over the floor. The west side of the kitchen, near the dining area, there was a shoe scuff marks on the flooring, which made it appear that there was possibly a struggle in that area. They listened to the 911 tape. He said, she came at me. I responded inappropriately. I'm going to spend the night in jail. Nigga, you're going to spend more than a night.
He thought it's going to be a field trip, overnight visit.
Right. He's like, I better take a shower if I'm going to be there all night. All right, Karen, guess the race.
What was their name again?
Charles Michael Calvert.
White.
All right, let's check the chat room, see what they believe. Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay.
Just one eye is watering for some reason.
No problem. Drops or something, you good.
Maybe I cut some onions earlier. And can you go give me a knife real quick?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, you good?
I stopped the jokes. I'm sorry. It ain't worth it.
I don't like the way you get cutting onions lately.
My jokes is that bad. Damn.
Mimi said, shoving crock pots and wasted food. Niggas don't waste food with Wizzy Wizzy White. White, reverse snap White, ashamed, sounded like a tasty meal. White. Well,
it did sound like a tasty meal. The crock pot and everything.
They didn't say if the ham was seasoned. The correct answer is white. Nobody missed it, so nobody gets booed.
Right. So if they'd have been like Italian season, cayenne everywhere, you'd have been like, you know what? This might be blacks.
Right.
Now, if you just said, what is it, adobo? You'd be like, that might be Mexican. Adobo, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't say Lowry's anywhere was in.
Yeah, now they said salt, pepper to taste, you'd be like, I don't know now.
All right, let's go to another one. Let's see. How about not having cell phone allowed a U.S. boy to save runaway bus from crashing. While other students on the bus were engrossed with their devices, Dylan Reeves noticed the driver in distress and guided the bus to safety.
Oh.
A Michigan boy who recently stopped a school bus from crashing after the driver lost consciousness leapt into action because he was the only passenger not distracted by an electronic device.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is just more of an ad trying to shit on cell phones, but I mean, listen, if that's what happened, that's what happened. On Sunday,
he had the one parent that was like, you won't get a cell phone till you're 15.
Probably hates his parents for that shit.
Right.
It was up to him, bus would have crashed.
Right.
On Sunday, 2 weeks after the 7th grader Dylan Reeves regained control of a school bus, when his driver became unconscious, the network reported that the boy's parents' refusal to provide him a cell phone paid off in a big way. Oh, God, I know his parents are fucking insufferable. Oh, my God, I know his fucking parents are, they have to be just... You see, that's why we didn't get you that cell phone. Like, oh, fuck you. I want to be cool.
Me. I will be one of them parents.
I want to be on Facebook with my friends. Well, that's why they get to pick on you. You saved their lives. I bet they're not picking on you now.
Right. I bet they're glad you saved your life. You got 2 more years. Then
they still giving me a wedgie on Monday. They don't care. Dylan's father, Steve, said, what else are you going to do when you don't have a phone? You're going to look at people. You're going to notice stuff. You're going to look out the window. It's a very powerful lesson. Maybe the change the world kind of lesson. Oh, my God. These are the exact
Was he parents. Reading a paper book, too?
These are the exact parents I was thinking of.
He was doing his homework.
How you like that? You say you can save the world because you ain't got a phone.
You paying attention to shit that's happening around you, son.
So there were several passengers on the bus with Dylan who are the equivalent. Well, it's a U.S., so year 8 in the U.K. I don't know what that means.
That means me either.
So it's a U.K. publication covering a story that happened in the U.S. They revealed that they were immersed in their electronic device when the driver began to lose consciousness, and they were being driven home April 26th. I had my AirPods in, said one student. A second student said I was looking at my phone. Someone said I was on my phone playing a little game. In a video that was captured by a bus security camera before it went viral, Dylan can be seen rushing up to the steering wheel after noticing the driver had passed out during a medical emergency. Dylan stepped on the brakes, steered the bus away from traffic, and eventually brought it to a stop as other students yelled in panic from their seats. Someone called 911 now, Dylan yelled as he brought the bus to a stop. Now, why is the father not talking about that part? How you gonna call 911? You don't got a phone.
Somebody had to have a phone to call.
Right. So y'all just getting by on everybody else having a phone, but your son don't. Well, how come that kid's not a hero? The driver was eventually treated for an unspecified medical episode as the students were transferred to a different bus and brought home. So yeah, there you go. The people praise him as a hero online. Guess the race of young Dylan Reeves.
White.
Kara says white. Let's check the chat room. Let's see what they think about this cell phoneless kid. Still waiting.
Yeah, give it a delay.
All right.
Sometimes it takes a while for
no
the
problem.
Post
White. I know people think, A lot of times people think of black parents as the ones that don't give our kids cell phones and tablets.
We're not the only ones.
I'm gonna go black because Black History Month. Insufferable white parents and their white kid. The correct answer is white. Didn't miss it, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But shout out to him saving that bus and everybody on it from getting in a wreck.
Right,
because saving the school district some money too.
Yes, he did. Because buses are huge.
Yeah, and they was gonna definitely sue if their kids got hurt.
Of course.
All right, let's go to the bonus round. Karen is 2 for 2.
Yay!
So you know what that means.
What time is it? That the bitch was white!
I ain't racist. How can I be racist about anybody or anything in my life? How can I?
Call them niggas. Just call them niggas.
Gold chain wearing, fried chicken and biscuit eating, monkey ate baboon, big dive, fast running, high jumping, spear chucking, 360-degree basketball.
An infidelity feud spiraled into a violent attack within the San Antonio home. According to an arrest warrant, when the sheriffs arrived at a Far West Side home on Monday, deputies were called to the home because the victim stated that a family member, Jesse Guzman, 44, got into an argument which resulted in pain in her head with visible neck injuries. The argument didn't result in that. It sounds like the violence.
Yes.
Police shared that the victim stated that they were arguing over infidelity and Guzman was not helping around the house. During the argument, the victim went to the restroom and Guzman got angry, grabbed her by her hair, and slammed the back of her head on the wall. Woo! Wow. Authorities shared the victim said that Guzman had told her that the beast was awakened and he continued to assault her. He dragged the victim out of the restroom into the bedroom where he got on top of her. Guzman then began to pray, placing his hands around the victim's neck. That's scary as hell. Like a motherfucker doing something violent to you while they're praying those are not congruent things.
No, they're not.
Like if I get into a fight with somebody and they start praying, I don't know. I might just be like, we can just let this go.
It ain't that important.
I don't know what you're praying for, but I don't think this is the right place.
I don't want that.
But he did say he was going to finish what he started 2 years ago and threatened to kill her. The victim remembers not being able to breathe, and the suspect finally stopped and fled before officials could arrive. Wait, why is this article? Oh, I swear this article said something else when I saved it. This is not funny at all. You know what? Fuck this one. I don't like this article.
Okay, let's do another one.
It's just fucked up. I thought it was going to say something about him being impotent. And then we could have laughed at him like, your dick don't work. But now it's like, man, it's just violence. This is just domestic violence. Let's see if we can find another one. How about...
We got to get some jokes in there.
Yeah, and I didn't see a place to take that. How about this one? This has never happened. Something is odd about these Aussie motorway passengers, in quotes.
Aussie, that's over in Australia, right?
Australia.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So apparently a person was driving down the highway and they took a picture of a passenger in the car next to him because it didn't appear to be human. It was a sex doll.
Oh, were they trying to go down the double passenger lane?
I don't know. A sex doll called Donna was completely sold out in Melbourne for the first time ever as the city's commuters come up with a creative solution to their traffic woes. According to Adam Leah, the marketing manager of Wild Secrets, the adult retailer stocks the $5,500 doll.
Woo! And people are like, this is going to be my passenger.
He said this has never happened in the company's 30-year history. The sudden demand for Donna has been sparked by Eastern Freeway commuters who are using the lifelike doll as a fake passenger to qualify for the faster transit lane.
Oh, just dressing it up and stuff like that so it look human.
How bad is traffic that you would spend
must be-
$5,500?
It must be real bad.
$5,500. You can't steal a mannequin from Gap.
Come on through,
You
mannequin.
went and bought a $5,500 sex doll.
Like, I don't want no excuses in case it gets up in the. Does it take a picture of the inside of the car too?
Are y'all at least having sex with the doll when you get home? So you can
Right.
like get some of both?
$5,500. You better get your money's worth.
People are buying dolls so they can use them for the much faster transit lane. Apparently, people were inspired by a promotional image of Donna seated behind the wheel of a car. And one customer even admitted the transit lane travel was the sole reason for his doll to purchase. Well, I mean, if you were fucking it, you probably still say that.
Mm-hmm.
Until recently, the niche market sex dolls sold pretty infrequently. Some months, only $2 would sell. However, in the past few months, hourly sales of Donna have taken over, leading to a complete sellout.
Damn, that was like, okay, no more orders. We got to go buy more parts for Donna.
Yeah. While the Vic Rose strictly prohibit
$5,500. That shit got to be definitely lifelike.
While Vic Rose strictly prohibits the use of sex dolls in transit lanes, with its website stating that passengers must be human, Melbourne they had to put it in there. Commuters seem to have found a way around the system. Anyone else seeing people traveling in transit lanes with dolls? One Melbourne driver shared in a viral post on Reddit alongside an image showing a lifelike doll in the passenger seat of a car next to him. While many praised the driver for finding a way to cheat the system, some suggested he might have been in a relationship with the doll. This might sound weird, but I'm pretty sure it's a sex doll. They have a whole forum community and everything, one user wrote.
Yeah,
they
that's
treat the
something
dolls like
interesting.
real life people and take them on holiday trips, travel with them in the car, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Go to the movies, restaurants, and things. I've seen documentaries like on Netflix about that, about people having like, and will be like, they marry him, all types of stuff.
Okay. Why not just put the dildo in the seat? Right. Can I strap my butt plug in right next to me and just?
I don't think that's
officer,
the
what seems to be the
same.
problem? In 2019, I'm gonna put my Xbox on there. I'm gonna be like, here's my Xbox.
Shit, I wish I could.
And
My
it's a
Switch.
person. In 2019,
Switch are people too. If companies can be people.
2019, it was reported that the drivers in several U.S. states, including New York, California, and Florida, were using the mannequins, skeletons, and blow-up sex dolls to legally use carpool lanes to beat traffic. Now, I'd rather just do it without the extra person and get arrested, or get pulled over and get a ticket. They get pulled over with the sex doll in there. Now I gotta have a conversation.
They must take a picture or something.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Mhm.
All right, Karen, guess the race.
Oh, white.
All right, Karen is saying white.
$5,500. You know what? None of them dolls brown.
All right, check the chat room, see what they believe.
None of them probably had curly hair either.
Let's see what the chat room believes when it comes to the race of this doll. All of this sounds white, says Yim. Donna does the carpool lane white and horny. The correct answer is white. That's the doll. You can kind of make out the image behind the window. And then this is the picture of the doll they put on their website that is sold out.
Yeah, like I say, and just looking like just fast child, I wouldn't have paid that no attention.
Part of me wonders if, well, I could tell that's not a person
Yeah.
at a glance. But part of me wonders if the company put it behind the wheel knowing that people would make that association.
Possibility.
I wonder.
Yeah, you went from selling $2 a week to selling out. Like, they don't
Yeah.
care. Like, if you get a ticket to get arrested, it ain't got nothing to do with
And then
them.
you're just like, oh, we didn't, look, we told them on the website not to do it. But, all right, let's go to the last thing, sword ratchetness. A man suspected of using a sword to attack an injured man in Hesperia. A 41-year-old man from Hesperia is suspected of trying to kill another man by putting a sword to his throat. Sheriff's officials said that around 9:31 a.m. on Thursday, deputies responded to the report of an assault. Deputies were advised that the suspect, later identified as Andrew Raymond Sanchez, assaulted the victim with a bladed object and fled the scene. Upon arrival, deputies located the suspect nearby and detained him. Deputies learned the suspect and victim had a verbal altercation, which escalated into the suspect grabbing a sword and holding the weapon to the victim's throat. When the victim attempted to remove the sword away from his throat, the suspect applied pressure, causing the victim to sustain a major hand injury. The victim was taken to a trauma center for treatment, while Sanchez was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. The suspect was booked into the High Desert Detention Center in Adelanto. His bail was set at $1 million. Woo! So at least they got him off the streets for $1 million. No one got killed, but wow, scary stuff. All right, y'all, that's it for tonight. Thanks for listening. We appreciate y'all. And you know, until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.